There are two types of people in the world, those who have a CD player already and those who do not. Actually, maybe a third type, those who had a CD player but moved on to more modern types of listening. When you comment, which I'm sure you will, tell us which type you are. The CD format, as you know, used to be very popular. Look at this chart from the RIAA. CD sales are in orange. But as you see, from a peak in 2000, CD sales diminished in favour of download in purple and streaming in green. You might also notice vinyl sales in dark blue, growing in recent years, but that's another story for another day. Apparently, the RIAA is in the process of updating this chart, which is why you only see data up to 2022. But since 2022, we seem to be hearing more and more about CDs. Maybe much of it is just online chatter. But in another RIAA report for 2024, CDs grew over that year 1.5% in units sold, 0.7% in dollar value. These figures are all US, by the way, Recording Industry Association of America. The clue's in the name. So maybe it's time to dust off your old CD player. Regret that you sold yours, or maybe, for the CD curious, dive in. Buy a player, get some CDs, enjoy that turn of the millennium vibe. So what I have here are two bang-up-to-date CD players. None of that retro draw-loading nonsense. None of that slot-loading nonsense that belongs in your rusty old car that needs both its oil and its tyres changing. Top-loading is the trend now, as far as my researchers tell me. Funny, I'm old enough to remember when top-loading washing machines were all the rage. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Let's take a look at the machines. Here we have, feeling like a presenter on QVC, the Moondrop Discdream 2. Why it's a 2 would be a history lesson, and I'm sure you can find an AI to give you that if you want. I'm just going to throw in now that both of these players play CDs just fine. I've tried them, and yes, they play CDs. My ageing ears find the sound quality neutral and perfectly suitable for my needs. So here on the front we find the normal controls you expect and a hamburger menu which gives you single track loop, full disc loop or shuffle loop. Then a volume control which works on the headphone output and the line. Hang on, where's the line output? It's combined into the optical out, so you can use old-fashioned electricity to get audio into your amp or pure, pleasant ones and zeros. As I said, it isn't 2000 anymore. Around the back we have on-off. Nice. And a USB-C input. What? An input on a CD player? Well, again being up to date, this is how the unit is powered. or should I say charged, because it has an internal battery, making the Discdream 2 portable. And get this, you can play audio from your computer. Up to 32-bit 384 kHz PCM and DSD256. Come on, with these fabulous options, who even needs a CD? I don't see any option to make the sound flow in the other direction. Gosh, that would have been nice to conveniently rip CDs. I'm going to play a disc. Not so that you'll hear it, because I'll get copyrighted, and I'll be making this video for free. But I'll show you the process, which I think is important. If you're going retro with the physical format, then the physicality surely is important. So firstly, we notice that everything's plastic. I don't mind plastic, if it has a quality look and feel, which this does. Open the lid manually, put the disc in and press it down. Close the lid and press play. One tiny quirk is that if you just switch the machine on, it'll display no CD until you do press play. Then when you take the disc out, it still shows the track count and duration data. No biggie. I've tested top loaders before, so it isn't a novelty that I can see the disc spinning. And I could partially in 1983 with my Philips CD100. I'm not tired of it yet, but maybe I could become so. Unlike an LP, there's no actual usefulness because, well, I doubt if even the finest of audiophiles can read the label. But they might get a better view if they leave the lid open. At this point, I have to consider that the player is portable. It won't fit in any of my pockets, so I have to think it could go in my bag. What if I'm going for a walk? Or maybe a run? The run's not going to happen. So I'll give it a jiggle test. Sorry you can't hear it, but this is where we are. Well, I did all of that and the music played perfectly. Let's try something a bit stronger. Plays just fine. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to test it to destruction. Now here's the thing, a good thing I think. If I switch the unit off while I'm playing a CD, or more properly, pause then switch off, when I switch back on again, it starts playing from just before where I left off. Gosh, this reminds me of cassette tapes. Does it remind you? One thing that doesn't survive switch off is the looping setting. It doesn't bother me because I wouldn't use it. Taking the disc out is easy because of the recess. No need to mishandle the disc. Can I just say that again? To all the disc mishandlers out there, there's no need to mishandle the disc. OK, that's enough for the Moondrop Discdream. Let's turn to the Discdream Ultra. A lot of what I could say here would be the same as the plain old Discdream, so I'll skip over that and just comment on what's different. Metal, as in Metallica. I think these things through, you know. As I said earlier, I don't mind plastic as long as the look and feel are good. In some ways, I like metal less. It's cold and somehow the edges don't feel quite so rounded. I could file my fingernails on this, but this is clearly a very personal preference, so don't take my word for anything. Essentially, everything's the same as the Discdream 2. Controls, outputs, USB-C, except there's a 4.4mm balanced headphone output. If I look at Moondrop's publicity, then it seems that the dual DACs of the Ultra make this balanced functionality possible. I could have preferred a clearer explanation of how this works, but you know, I'll just take it that it does. If you have a pair of headphones that are capable of a balanced connection, I'd say you'd want to use it. The advantage of the balanced connection in the Ultra is more voltage, more power. And who doesn't want more power? I have to mention headphone impedance again, which I know you're bored with if you watch my reviews. I don't see any mention of output power or suitable headphone impedance in either of the manuals, although the online spec is 124 milliwatts into 32 ohms for the Discdream 2 and 112 milliwatts into 32 ohms for the Ultra single-ended and 222 milliwatts at 32 ohms for the Ultra balanced. This is okay, my regular headphones are 32 ohms, but many headphones these days, particularly planars, go down to lower impedances than this, as low as 8. So I took out my Verum 1 headphones. 8 ohms specified. Let's put a disc in. Sounds fine to me, and no problem with volume. In fact, oddly enough, I almost find myself enjoying the music. I don't really have anything more to say about the Discdream 2 Ultra because I've said it all about the standard Discdream 2. But I have to consider price. I don't always talk about price because up-to-date pricing is available online, and what's expensive to one hard-up hi-fi enthusiast may be cheap to a high-end audiophile. But here we have two products to compare. The pricing I see today at Apos Audio, who provided these samples for me, is $179.99 USD for the Discdream 2, $349.99 for the Ultra. So that's a 170 USD price difference, almost double. And for me, essentially that $170 is for metal and for the balanced headphone output. But if you have balanced headphones, well, you're just going to have to shell out, because if you don't, you'll wish you did. Or use the line or optical output into your existing headphone amp. I talked about types of people. Well, I'm kind of all three. I had a CD player, but then I got rid of most of my CDs because I wasn't playing them. The player is currently in my loft. But I have CD players that I've reviewed previously, and they are not in my loft. I can easily get one out and put it on my desk if I want. But do I? But I have to say I'm curious about the CD revival. Where is it going? Where will it end? I could find a use for either of these players. I'm torn because I normally listen on unbalanced headphones, or should I say headphones that are wired unbalanced. The Discdream 2 would be fine for my needs. But listening to Metallica's Death Magnetic, apparently the loudest CD ever made, on my Verum 1s, well, it's an experience. Anyway, don't take my word for anything. Check out the specs, check out other reviews, and prepare yourself carefully for your CD experience. Good luck. See you soon. Oh, did I miss out anything? Well, if I get even more CD curious and more CD players come my way to review, I might equip myself with a test suite of CDs. A well-recorded CD that I can use without copyright restrictions. A mistreated CD, I can easily get one of those from eBay, pre-scratched and fingerprinted. A CDR, a CDRW, a bronzed, rotted CD. What do you think?